In this video, I'm heading back to my psych-trained roots and we're going to be looking at mental health in the funeral industry. It is an industry that is notoriously difficult to get into and hidden behind closed walls. While this video mostly looks at the Australian funeral industry, we have also researched the mental health within the Singaporean, Japanese, USA, UK and Canadian funeral industries and found many of the similar issues. Before we start, please like and subscribe if you find this video interesting. Now let's talk mental health and the funeral industry. The funeral industry is made up of funeral homes, funeral directors, embalmers, cemetery staff, crematorium staff, admin, and industrial product workers. These funeral homes can be religious or secular, large scale or small, usually for profit, but not always. Funeral directors are essential workers, and they were further categorized as such during the COVID pandemic. What this profession does is largely behind the scenes and goes unnoticed and unacknowledged by larger society. And while some may scorn the funeral industry as being money grabbing, it can't be denied that in the modern world they make dealing with the death of someone just a bit easier. But like in every industry, the funeral industry has its difficulties for its workers. It is certainly vocational work, and sometimes even that love and passion for the job just isn't enough. The World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that is not successfully managed. If not dealt with, it can lead to significant physical and mental health issues that will affect your day-to-day responsibilities. Obviously, signs that you are experiencing burnout will differ for everyone, but common signs are low energy, exhaustion, feeling mentally detached from your work, feeling negative and cynical about your work, reduced efficiency at work, loss in motivation, feeling hopeless or helpless, changes in appetite or sleep, sets of loneliness, isolating from others, headaches and muscle pain. Now, before people jump on the, oh my God, this is obviously depression bandwagon, no, it's not. Burnout is directly connected with your work or whatever the biggest focus you have over a long period of time. But you mostly see it in high pressure jobs. It is that feeling when you just want to yell, I don't give a shit about this job anymore. So, what is it about funeral work that would lead to burnout? In one word, everything. For most funeral directors, their job involves being on call 24 hours a day, so sleep often goes straight out the window. You may show up for your regular 10-hour shift and 18 or 20 hours later you're still there, and this happens extremely often. You are working under high pressure from management to make sales while dealing with grieving families, both of which take immense patience. And not that it would change the resulting burnout, but contrary to popular belief, the funeral industry doesn't pay all that well either. Compassion fatigue is a specific type of burnout and is characterized as emotional and physical exhaustion, leading to the diminished ability to empathize or feel compassion for others, and is often described as the negative cost of caring. Most commonly seen in healthcare workers and those in long-term care position of loved ones, it is seen in any field that requires you to constantly empathize with others over a long period of time. Shockingly enough, dealing with grief every day non-stop for years on end can be emotionally draining for funeral directors. Who knew? People expect funeral directors to just take everything that's thrown at them. And while they have empathy because you are in grief, being yelled at, sworn at, dealing with family conflicts and overly dramatic individuals takes its toll. While regular burnout will have you yelling that you don't give a shit about your job anymore, compassion fatigue will have you yelling that you don't give a shit about your patients or clients anymore. Remember that not everyone is capable of empathy. Sympathy maybe, but not empathy. Why? Because it takes a lot of self-awareness, a lot of interpersonal skills, and a lot of emotional intelligence. It's a lot of work. And a lot of people just can't or won't put that much effort into interacting with other people. And we all know those people. So to not only have to put in the regular effort of your job, there's also the emotional component in jobs like this that can weigh you down over time if you don't look after yourself properly. As a funeral director, you are on call. And as anyone who has been in that kind of job knows, it is a bitch. This doesn't just result in your routines or sleep being interrupted. This means that you miss out on significant occasions, weddings, birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, births. Now imagine how that happening regularly would affect your loved ones, your significant other, and children. To children, it seems like you care more about these other families than you do about them because you're never home, and even on their birthday, you're not there. Your partner obviously knew when they met you that you were in this line of work, but that doesn't mean that after a while it doesn't start to hurt. Communication breaks down, intimacy dries up, resentment kicks in. And many funeral directors report not being able to fully offload to their partner about their day because what you see on a day-to-day basis can be dark. And no matter how open your partner is, you don't want to put those images in their head. As a result, you build up heavy emotion from not having an outlet, and your partner feels like you're shutting them out, which is true, understandable, but true. And if you're friends with a funeral director, you probably don't see them as much as you do your other friends. And as much as they would love to be there, often they miss important events like your wedding day due to their job. The breakdown of relationships along with burnout are the two most common issues seen in the funeral industry. And that was the case in every country we researched. Yes, some funeral homes do their best to help with self-care, but funeral homes are a business. And like a lot of businesses, most of them don't give a shit as long as the money is rolling in. You need to have thick skin and a strong stomach to go into the funeral industry. Death isn't just little old ladies who die peacefully in their sleep. It's suicide, homicides, disfiguring accidents, heads not attached to bodies, extreme decomposition, children who have accidentally been run over, or babies who have been murdered. If you have children of your own, likely you will be affected by the deceased children that you see at your funeral home. And then you have mass disaster incidents. While here in Australia, we don't face these all that often, in other countries, mass disasters are extremely common. And for many, those images don't leave them easily. While not overly reported in Australia, USA, Canada, or the UK, social marginalisation because of their line of work was reportedly very common in Singapore and Japan. Workers report others recoiling when they say what field of work they're in, either believing them to be cursed or of questionable character for working in such a field. Many saying that dating was extremely difficult because of this societal attitude. And while it's not as big of an issue here in Australia, having known many workers in the field, I can say that there still is a bit of this attitude here. In fact, many people that I know in the industry just marry other funeral workers. It just makes it easier. Now, all of this paints a really bad picture, but I don't want you going away thinking funeral directors are all depressed and isolated people. Yes, it takes a certain personality type to be able to navigate and withstand the hardships of this job, but we could say that about any job. And it is all about how the person chooses to cope with the situation. On one hand, they could put their foot down and make time for self-care, whatever that may look like to them. Or they could take up drinking, drugs, gambling, and fall into a hole. It takes a strong level of maturity to stand up and say, I can't do this anymore. For the funeral workers watching, I'm not going to patronise you by telling you how to overcome these issues. You're all smart, emotionally intelligent people, and you know what you need to do. But if you do want some links, comment below and I'll happily pass them on to you. These things that we've spoken about will come as no surprise to anyone in the industry. But I think it is important that these issues are spoken about within the community at large for two reasons. One, so hopefully certain individuals will realise that funeral workers are not their emotional punching bags. And two, as a heads up to the younger generation wishing to go into the industry. Sometimes people romanticise death, particularly at a young age. And if you're going to spend the time and money training up to go into the field, you should be made aware of the good and bad. And we need a new generation to start making some changes in how funeral homes are run. Sure, you won't be able to get rid of the on-call aspect or the sights that you're going to see, but hopefully the just suck it up attitude might be softened just a little. You never know, it could happen. If you're in the funeral industry, let us know about the good, the bad and the ugly in the comments below. It is helpful for those wanting to get into the industry and insightful for the rest of us. And with that, go talk death.